Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from jennycarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. I have a brand spanking new template reference book for you. My new book is called Paper Engineering, and this is a template reference book full of enhanced envelopes and pocket cards. If you've seen my channel before, I've developed many different template books that guide you through chopping up cardstock, creating envelopes, and just helping you to be creative and crafty in your space. So in this particular book, I've got a couple of new things. In the first part of my table of contents, I have all of the listed pocket card templates. And then in the second part of my book, I have all of the listed Baronial style envelopes. And Baronial envelopes are basically the triangle flapped type of envelopes, just like the image on the front cover of this book. I've shared 3 videos in the past week on 3 different types of pocket cards, and so I have created templates for you that walk you through the steps and measurements to create the pocket cards. So I have also added to this list and created pocket cards for all of the other envelope templates that I make, and that is A2, A7, A8, slimline, mini slimline, and then my series of square envelopes, which are 4, 5, and 6 inch squared. So there are pocket card templates for each one of those types of envelopes. And then as we flip through the book, once we hit the last template for the pocket card, there is a little envelope in here. Now the purpose of this envelope is to create your own sample of your pocket card. These samples are not included with the book, but they are the samples I've created so that I have a reference point to look at when I want to make a project. That's why I have included that envelope so that you can keep samples of your pocket cards. And I've coordinated my pocket card with the color of the template. For example, my A2 pocket card is blue, my A7 pocket card is green, and so on. So that when I pull them out of the little envelope in the back here, then I know exactly what I'm looking at. This is a fun project to do if you don't have any desire to create in your crafty space. Then pull out a template book and create some envelopes and store them in your little pocket for future use. So I'm going to tuck all of these little pocket cards back into the envelope here, and then I'm going to continue to flip through the book because there's more after this envelope. And what's behind here are my brand new Baronial style envelope templates. And as I mentioned before, a Baronial envelope is a triangle flapped envelope. It is a beautiful looking envelope. It's a little bit different than your typical square flap envelope, and I think it creates a very elegant and classy look to your projects. The best part about this template is that you just need basic supplies. You need to be able to cut your cardstock, and then you need to be able to measure with a ruler. It's so simple and easy, and I walk you through the steps. Don't be intimidated by this project at all. It is honestly a very simple and easy project, and the template guide can look a little complicated, but I promise you it is so simple. I'm going to walk you through a Baronial style envelope project here in a minute. And so what I've got here is a template for each of the card projects that I typically make. So I have a template for A2, A7, A8, slimline, mini slimline, 4, 5, and 6 inch squared. So, and I've got in the back of this book, I've got another envelope pocket, and inside of that pocket are my samples. And once again, my samples don't come along with the purchase of the book, but you are more than welcome to create your own using the templates in this book to help you create those. So I've done the same thing once again, and I've coordinated my envelopes with the color of the template. And one of the great things about all of my templates across my entire line, I have a total of 5 template books, and all of the books coordinate by color. So any project that is A2, you're going to find it blue within my templates. So you're going to find it in boxes and bags and genvelopes, and then now my paper engineering book, you'll find all of those A2 projects coordinate with the same color, and so on for A7 and A8 and Slimline and all the others I mentioned. So all of the colors will coordinate together from one book to the next so that you know exactly what you're doing and what projects coordinate together and what fits inside of what, and so on. So also, one of the great things I forgot to mention about pocket cards is that they'll fit inside of these envelopes. Pocket cards are just a little bit smaller, so they're intended to act as the card rather than the envelope. So it's just a little fun, something different. Each pocket card will fit inside its coordinating envelope. Okay, so enough talking. Let's get to work here. I'm going to show you how these new Baronial style envelopes work. I know it's a fancy word, but while I did my research, I found out that that's what they're called, and I wanted to name them something special because I really put a lot of hard work and effort into bringing these templates to you, and I thought Baronial was too formal and nobody would know what it was, so that's why I decided to name the book Enhanced Envelopes, because that's exactly what they are. Let's get into working through one of these Baronial style envelope templates and see what it looks like. Okay, so first up we're going to take a look at the template guide, and it tells us what size paper that we're going to need. So for this project we need a 10 by 10 inch square piece of paper, and this measurement needs to be exact. This has to particularly be cut properly, otherwise you'll get sort of a wonky, misshapen envelope. So we just want to make sure that our cuts are nice and straight here, and we have a good 10 by 10 inch size piece of cardstock or pattern paper, whatever you've got. So once this is cut, I have a few pieces of scrap, and I'm going to use those to create my card project later on, so I'm just going to set those aside. Okay, so now the next step in our Baronial template is to use a ruler to measure and mark using a pencil. Now, when you're making your marks, you want to make sure that you're marking on the edge of the paper, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and identify all 4 sides, A, B, C, and D. Okay, this is just for the purposes of creating this video for you and to visualize with the template along so that we have reference points. So let's go ahead and grab a ruler, and across side A, we're going to make our first little dots at 3 3/4 and 4 3/4. Okay, and so we're measuring right on the edge of the paper there and making little dots. And now we're going to rotate the page 1 turn, and then on side B, that we've marked side B, we're going to measure and mark 2 little dots at 5 1/4 and 6 1/4. So just making little dots on the edge of that paper there, and then we're going to rotate the cardstock, and the next step here in our guide is to rotate and mark on side C at 3 3/4 and 4 3/4. Okay, again, marking on the edge of the paper here. Take your time. These measurements are important to make sure that the envelope comes together correctly. Okay, and then for the last turn, we're going to turn to side D and mark at 5 1/4 and 6 1/4. So if you'll notice, on side A and side C, the measurements are the same. And then side B and side D, those 2 measurements are the same. Okay, so this is how we're going to create the score marks for our envelopes using these little dots that we've created. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler. We're going to start on side A. I think this is most important, just so that you don't get confused. Okay, on side A, we're going to take the ruler. We're going to connect the first dot on side A. So if you'll see the 2 dots that we have, we call it dot 1 and dot 2. On every side, we have dot 1 and dot 2. So on side A, you're going to connect your first dot to the second dot on side B, if that makes sense. So just Looking at the screen here, I've got side A, the first dot, connected to side B, and that's the second dot on side B. Now I'm using a pencil to connect these dots so that you can visually see what I'm doing. You don't necessarily need to do this, but you can if you prefer. And so what I do after this is take a score tool and I score that line. So I'm making a score mark across that side A dot 1 down to side B dot 2. Okay, next we're going to rotate the paper, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to connect the first dot on side B to the second dot on side C. Okay, using the ruler, connecting those dots, dot 1 to dot 2. And then using my score tool, I use a pencil so you can see visually, and then I use my score tool to create the score mark. Rotate the cardstock and repeat the same step. We're going to go ahead and connect dot 1 to dot 2. So as you can see, A, B, C, and D are not necessary. It doesn't matter, but for the purposes of explaining how we do this, I've identified those sides for you just to make it a little bit easier. But basically, we have the same measurements parallel to each other on both sides of the cardstock, and then we're going to connect the lines together. And I don't want to get all technical, really. It's just dot 1 to dot 2. Score, rotate. Dot 1 to dot 2. Score and rotate. And then you're going to end up with a pattern that starts to look like an envelope. So here we are on the last turn here. We're on side D. We're going to connect the dots from side D, the first dot, to the second dot on side A. So now all of our dots are connected to something, and you'll see the envelope shapes start to form. So you've got that center rectangle there that is the size of what our envelope will be. So the first page in our template is complete, and now we're going to flip the page over and move on to the next steps. Okay? So the next step here is to crease all of the score marks. So using a bone folder, make good sharp creases across the score lines. So because I scored on the white side, I need to fold my envelope away from the score before I can fold it back in, if that makes sense. So if you score on the pattern paper side, you shouldn't have a problem. You should be able to fold it in, score it, and be done. So I just want to make sure that I'm avoiding any cracking in my paper. So I'll fold away from the score mark first and then fold it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and crease all four sides of my envelope, making sure that I get good sharp creases. And you'll see where those score lines intersect and overlap. We're creating this little triangle piece. So here our envelope is coming together. The next step, we're going to cut away those four triangles in each corner of our envelope template here. So I've marked them in the template guide. They're marked in red. So we're going to cut those away. Okay, so I'm just going to run through quickly with my scissors, and I'm going to cut away all four corners. Okay, and once that's done, the next step we're going to do is apply adhesive to the little side flaps that are marked in the template. In this template, they are marked yellow. So we're going to apply adhesive there, fold up that bottom flap, press everything together, and our envelope is complete. Look at this absolutely gorgeous, super fancy dancy baronial style envelope, or as I like to call it, enhanced envelope. So although this may look complicated and intimidating at first, it is actually quite simple. You have a few measurements, some scores, a couple of trims, a little bit of glue, and you're done. Super easy. No big fancy tools needed for this or specialty dies. You just need a ruler and a paper trimmer and a pencil and some scissors. Super easy. Okay, so all of the templates are similar to this with different measurements to create different sizes of baronial style envelopes. Let's make a quick card to go with this envelope. So first I've got a 5x7 card base here, and I'm taking a piece of the pattern paper that I used to create my envelope. I'm just going to take a piece of that leftover scrap, and I'm going to adhere it down to the front of my card. I've got a little bit of adhesive on there, and I'm going to use my T-square ruler to help me make sure that I get this pattern straight on my card. And then I'm going to grab some little foil strips. I shared in a video the other day how to make your own little foil strips with double-sided tape. I'll link to that video for you as well. And so I'm just going to apply some foil strips to either side of my paper. And then I decided to add one of these foil strips to my envelope. I thought it would just coordinate everything together nicely. I also adhered a small scrap of cardstock to the front of the envelope so that I could write the recipient's name, and then I kind of framed it in with those foil strips. So I have a sentiment here from the jennycarddesigns stamp set called So Many Sentiments, and it says, "So thankful for a friend like you." And I've just got that loaded up onto my cardstock where I want it to be, and pick it up with the door of the Misty. And I'm going to stamp this with one of jennycarddesigns' new ink pad colors. This is a set of new ink cubes released in jennycard's new card kit. And I'm just going to use the dark carnation. I thought that color matched nicely with the color inside of the pattern on my card. So I'm going to ink up this stamp nice and good, close the door of the Misty and press, and make sure I get a good transfer of ink. And I'm going to stamp it twice, as this is a brand new stamp and it had never been conditioned. I thought I would get a nice smooth impression by stamping it a couple of times. And then once that's done, I've got some of these floral ephemera that is included in that card kit that I mentioned. I will have a video with that coming up soon that I share the contents with. It is currently a sold out card kit, but jennycard will be re-releasing it very shortly. So keep an eye out for that. So I'm just going to pop up that ephemera on the front of my card. I've picked out a flower and a couple of leaves, and I'm using some foam squares, and I'll get those adhered around my card, and then I'm going to grab a couple of little sequins, pop those around my card, and that's going to be it. This card is complete, simple and pretty, and it fits perfectly inside of our beautiful envelope. Here is a close-up look at our finished card and envelope project. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. If you're interested in purchasing this template book, The Paper Engineering, or any others that I have, you can find them linked in the description box down below, or you can just check out my website at www.jennycards.ca. Coming up on screen are a couple of videos I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!